And welcome to the Inside Britball podcast. My name's Andy Taylor, and I'm joined, as always, by Isaac and Stuart as we look to break down the BUCS Week 10 results and look forward to Week 11 as we are steamrolling towards the end of the regular season into the post-season of BUCS. And as with everything in January, and now we're in February, for British American football, we start getting notifications from the competition committees to tell us that summer season is just around the corner as well. So we will touch on that in a little while. But we've got plenty to get to. We're going to obviously look through the results of Week 10, and look through some news, have a look at the writers' poll, and head towards our favourite picks for Week 11 of the BUCS regular season. So let's get straight into it, guys. We've got plenty to get to. We had some news, so we've had plenty of news, in fact, in the last week or so, haven't we, since we last got together. I think it was the day after we got together last that we had the alignment sort of drop, or was it the Friday maybe that it started to come down the ladder, and we obviously got some sight of some fixtures, but they are not to be distributed widely at this point, we are told. So what we are going to do is we're going to get back together and talk about alignments in particular, give it its own proper sort of time rather than a little bit of a 5 or 10 minute gap in this podcast. But it always feels like Christmas when they do drop, isn't it? For you guys, how was it when you saw it? What stood out to you? Isaac, do you want to go first? What stood out to you with these alignments as they dropped as a sort of like big picture sort of overview?
We got Div 2 back. Yes! Get the trophy.
And there's more teams than in Div 1.
Exactly. Mental that some teams don't want to move up who possibly could have done last year, but that's each to their own. No Scunthorpe Alphas, as we spoke about last week as well, and how that affected the alignments, but not really, just one less team in the Prem. But yeah, no, I like it. A bit later than what probably expected with all the chopping and changing and what's happened, but no, nice that we finally got it, and we're slowly getting some fixtures out from different teams.
Yeah, I joke that there's more teams in Div 2 than Div 1. It's just that there's actually more complete divisions in Division 2 than there are in Division 1. And we will get into that in more detail. But Stuart, we always get excited, don't we, when we get alignments?
Yeah, I mean, we'd seen several different iterations of this. So we had graphics sort of primed and ready to go. But even when we got the finalised alignments, there were still some changes. One thing to note, it's great to see Rosendale BUCS in the Contact League. So welcome to those guys. Scotland still has its own division. Scotland still has its own division. And there's rumours, or I've seen on certain teams' social medias, about cross-division games between the Scottish and the North in the NFC. So it'd be interesting to see how they work out, what the arrangements are in terms of where their games are played, finances, who plays who, how that figures out. So yeah, looking forward to the next couple of weeks when hopefully we get some communications with finalised fixtures, and then when we get told, we can hit the magic button and go live with those fixtures.
Yeah, 100%.
Just on the crossover ones, haven't we seen this before as well with the Southern teams?
Yeah,
we've seen it where like teams are like crossed over and stuff like that. So it's nice to see that more teams are playing newer competition. I think that you look at someone like the Wakefield Raiders, for example. I think we've only got one team that we've played over the last 2 years in the same division now.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice, especially for them teams like in Scotland and in the North, that we're going to see some great games. If you look at the potential fixtures or the rumored fixtures, anyways. When you've got the likes, I think it was the Rams and Glasgow Tigers had paired together, the two number one teams from their divisions last year paired together. That I think that alone, I think, does kind of excite you, doesn't it, for the rest of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're only talking about adult contact there, but obviously we also got sight of under 16s, under 19s contact, as well as the NWFL as well, and they all look very, very different. I think that there is obviously a number of teams that didn't come back for this year, which is sad, and I was looking over the team, and I think we've only lost one in the Adult Contact League. We've obviously gained two, technically, if you include Aberdeen being a reintroduction in there as well. But then across there's been a big shake-up in under 16s, big shake-up in under 19s as well, hasn't there? And NWFL looks sparse. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to get back together, and we will bring Kiwi in as well, and we'll break that down in a lot more detail and give it a lot more justice, because I know there's some comments already coming through around opinions on these alignments. We really want to give you them, so we will we'll give it its justice, and we'll give it some proper airtime. We are here to break down books, but we want to go over some other news that dropped as well. So first of all, I think it was a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, we were celebrating the official retirement of John Wise, and we considered that he probably wouldn't be sat still or lying down on his on his back doing nothing for too long. And BAFA announced that he's going straight into GB flag, which is good for him, isn't it? Stuart, I know you edited the article, and Isaac, you wrote it. So Isaac, do you want to just briefly summarize what we learned about the new appointments in BAFA?
Yeah, so John Wise, as you mentioned, coming back as the performance service managers and the DISE lead. For those who don't know, DIS is Diploma in Sporting Excellence, whatever that means. Nice. And then you got Dave Winter, who's also joined to be the head of youth flag football, and kind of, I'm going to guess, head that kind of area up, whilst working alongside some of the new coaches that were announced 2 months ago now. Mm-hmm. And different, and basically be more of like a figurehead for the youth flag games as they look forward to the, I can't remember what year. There's a championship in 2026 with one of the there we go, with the U17s, U15 and U13 age groups, with the 2026 European Youth Championships coming up this year, as well as obviously the LA Olympics. And I think we got some news as well of how that's kind of being decided and stuff like that. But no, definitely, I think it's in the right direction. And you know what I mean? You see now that BAFA have put a lot of work into the flag football, and here again you see the kind of effort and levels they're putting onto the non-contact side of the game, with the potential of getting a gold medal in a couple of years' time. Yeah,
a big responsibility for both, right? This is obviously setting up potentially players who will be in the Olympics. If you're talking about some of the under 17s in particular, there's no reason why some of them are making their way in what is now 2 years' time. But you never know. But obviously, a very important pipeline for us to maintain, and I'm sure Dave and co will be supporting those head coaches that are already there, because don't want to get into the flag side of it, because that's for our colleagues in the flag football podcast. But obviously we've got that's been a developing story over the last couple of years, with Kelly Barrett coming in as one of the head coaches, talking about silvers and so on, and development sort of streams. And then obviously Contact have kind of come up with their own version of that as well, haven't they, with the development side and the youth side, which is all very positive. Stuart, anything to add to that before and maybe you want to take us on to the next bit of news, which was the next announcement that came almost like back to back after the John Wise announcement?
Yeah, we've been furiously typing and designing all sorts of stuff this week. I just think it's two really good appointments. I've been exposed to John several times in coaching, refereeing partnerships, coaching partnerships on different sides of the field, and he's always been fantastic, knowledgeable, helpful, supportive, all the good adjectives you want to hear from a person going into a role like that. And I know a lot of people that have been influenced by Dave Winter, sort of around the Midlands area at various different programs, and everybody has good words to say about him. And I know that he's worked a lot at youth age group, whether that's contact, flag, at various different levels as well. So two really good appointments, I think. certainly from my knowledge of this area. That's not to say there aren't other good people around the country doing other good work. Yeah, I'm just not exposed to them as much as these two names in well, not where I am right now, but certainly in the Midlands where I usually live and usually get out and about on the field. Yeah, it's good to see those. But yeah, the second piece of news that came out today that looks fantastic on the outside looking in is that BAFA and Nike have done a partnership, looking ahead, obviously, to the Olympics in 28, but obviously starting now to support the performance programs, not just at flag level, both genders, contact, flag. So reading between the lines, what I can make of this is that the apparel will change for GB. We will move away from that lovely player layer design that we have with the kaleidoscope shoulders and breast sides and what have you. Yeah, that I can get on board with that, Isaac, because that's like 2-tone, 3-tone. That's when we kept it simple and it was like, let's play in red, blue, and white and look nice and pretty. That I can get on board with a jersey like that. Yeah, this current reiteration of GB Stash, yeah, not a huge fan of. However, Nike could come on board, and yeah, they could enter some just as garish kit. They've also taken on board Canada and Mexico, and seeing press releases from both of those teams today across their international federation associations. They have also got some, certainly Mexico have got some fantastic kit designs. So I really hope that Nike take on board their exuberant kit designs and leave those as they are. And you can't go wrong with red and white for Canada, really, can you? Just stick a maple leaf on it somewhere and roll with that, and I'm sure they're happy. So yeah, huge news. It'll just be interesting to see how that sort of drip feeds down into national leagues, maybe, whether it's a partnership at governing body level and whether there's any sort of help and support for normal kit. But yeah, we'll see. We might start to see people from the board and from BAFA with pretty Nike ticks across the front of their jerseys, jumpers, polos with names on and stuff. And yeah, I hope they keep it red, because red stands out.
Well, Isaac wrote about this on our website as well, so go and check out that article. And you know, as you wrote, Isaac, there's a number of things that have been added, isn't there? This isn't just a flag thing. Apparently, there are tackle teams that they're looking to invest in, and they're not only wanting to do kit, but also look at innovation, athlete in participation in maybe equipment or and stuff like that as well. And obviously they're not going to take on the US, because the US have got Under Armour. They show that off quite nicely, don't they, when they come to these events. But what interests me in this is, and certainly Kiwi, our resident spokesperson for the women's game, is that Anne Miller, who is the EVP of Global Sports Marketing at Nike. She said, what excites us most is the role of flag football can play in opening doors for the next generation of athletes around the world, especially girls who haven't always had access to the game, which, you know, here, let's hope you put your money where your mouth is, right? So looking forward to that.
Yeah, and to add to that, in the article, if you don't go read it, you know, Nike since 2021 they've had an incentive of $5 million to grow flag football in high schools in America. That now is across 40 states, and I think that's what they've said that they want to bring that to Great Britain as well. So I think when we've seen a lot of is it JAG flag when they go into schools and in areas?
JAG tag. There's NFL flag, isn't there?
As well. Yeah. And they've done some great work. I've seen that in Leeds quite recently. But definitely that this seems like it's going to be a big thing to get more eyes on the sport and for definitely to have a more a female focus on it, which is it's only gonna help the GB programs and BAFA in the future.
100%. Brilliant. Let's get on to week 10 results then. Excuse me while I hang up the phone from my dad. Let's have a look at the Prem immediately.
Not watching.
Apparently he's not watching. So straight into the Prem tier. Isaac, take us through it first. What stood out to you from the Prem National in particular, and then we'll go into the North and South as well.
It was business as usual, wasn't it, in the Prem National? I think when we spoke last week, we kind of expected it. Nottingham beating Loughborough 26-13, Durham beating Leeds Beckett 49-0, sorry. It's not exciting, is it? Loughborough probably scored more points than people thought and gave Nottingham got a bit more of a game, a bit more to worry about. But definitely, I think that nothing's really surprising in the National. It's kind of business as normal what we expect going into these last few weeks.
100%. I mean, like, none of that happened this weekend kind of surprised us. I think we're still waiting to see a bit of life from both Loughborough and Leeds Beckett, aren't we? And we're obviously going to go down this road towards a really important matchup in 2 weeks. Is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last week it's
3 weeks.
2 weeks.
3 weeks. So yeah,
3 weeks.
Yeah, end of Feb. So really important sort of results that are going to come from that. Stuart, where do you want? What do you want to go on to Prem National as well, or do you want to move on to North and South?
No, I'm gonna talk a little bit about Gold Loughborough. I said as part of my TikTok / Instagram reel that was the surprise for me. Since that's gone out, people have messaged saying that Gold were really sort of threadbare. They have quite a few injuries. You still should be able to probably expect them to beat Loughborough. They only had a couple of green players go up apparently as well, but 26-13 against, no disrespect to Loughborough, they're a strong squad. They are comfortably within the Premiership National, I think. Again, no disrespect Leeds Beckett, but yeah, I was expecting a slightly bigger score differential in that one. And since just learned that they were really threadbare, especially at QB position. Apparently they were, Dandelion and Bergdock's hitting me hard. They were threadbare at the QB position. That was second string or third string playing as well. So DBs for the second game this year, we've heard that they were again sort of struggling a little bit, but they still got the win. They're still up there. There's 3 of them now confirmed in the playoffs, so it's just who gets that 4th spot. Probably Loughborough with the form that Leeds Beckett are on.
Yeah, and should we head a little bit towards the North and South then, because we had NTU solidified their place at the top of Prem North, division champs. We have declared unofficial, and you've got to finish out the rest of your games because there are -2s. There are disclaimers out the way. We won't say that again for the rest of the pod, but on the assumption that nobody else forfeits, then NTU are obviously division champs, and this continues to put a bit of woe on the Leeds Griffins. Obviously, they're now very close to relegation, so that 33-8 was certainly a business as usual sort of result for me in the Prem North. Isaac, anything to say on those two? Because Warwick also faced Northumbria as well.
Yeah, I think NTU, when coming to the season, I think they were ranked outside the top 10 when we were doing the rankings, just top 10 rather than 25. No one thought they were going to be able to do this, and the man from South Dakota has gone on and do what he does best. But no, definitely, I think that team there, I think you've seen it to play twice in the space of 4 days, with hosting both times, it helps them a little bit, but to score 75 points, 75 points and concede only 8 in 2 games in 4 days is remarkable. Yeah. And it's not something we've seen a lot from them, really. They've scored 25 plus the odd time, 35 against Leeds before, but apart from that, against Northumbria and Warwick, it's been tight, it's been close games, but definitely now they're showing what power they have on offense. And I think they had a couple of kick returns in them 2 games as well. So definitely, I think they're showing what they can do, and that sides in the south have got to be a bit wary of the Renegades and what they can really threat to them. And then the Warwick Northumbria game, I think that's kind of strange, isn't it? I think Northumbria are happy just to be there and stay in the division. Coming up from Div 2, Div 1, now Prem. they've done what the 500. They're in the playoffs. They've qualified for another year in the Prem North, and they'll be happy with that. Yeah, they'd love to go on and see if they can get promotion to the national. But realistically, they're another program who's done exceptionally well over the last few years, and they should be proud of what they've done, and that they're able just to knock out Newcastle and Leeds so far this season, who most people thought would finish above them, and Newcastle have been sleeping on all year, and
what we've seen now in the last week and a half to 2 weeks is that we've now seen that the teams have established themselves where they are now. We had obviously quite a number of questions going into the Christmas break, but we now know that NTU and Warwick are the best two in that division. It's going to be obviously NTU going in as the first seed because it's got nothing to do with, mini groups or anything like that in the Prem. It's where you finish as your seed. So what Nottingham will be one. Warwick, I think I didn't go that far down, but I'm pretty sure they're almost nailed on as 2. Just double checking.
Yes.
Yeah, they are. They're nailed on as 2. So then it's between Northumbria and Newcastle who's going to finish 3 and 4, because you would assume the way it's going to play out is that Leeds won't catch them, but Leeds have got to find two results there, haven't they, to survive. And then if you look further south, Stuart, we see the same, don't we? Brunel are a class 43-6 win against Portsmouth, and SGS 20-6 win over Exeter is not much different to what we've seen all year.
No. What my eye is drawn to is one of the Newcastle teams is going to have to travel down to Brunel in London. That's a horrible journey.
How weird.
That is a horrible journey. If they win, though, it's going to be a heck of a fun bus home. I think one of the team's social media's message going, yeah, it's going to be a fun bus home, though. What do they say at uni? Win or lose, we're on the booze or something like that. Have a good fun bus home.
One's got to travel to London, one's got to travel to Bristol.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think the Bristol one's worse than London.
Would you rather go and play on a lovely 4G field that's fully marked out for our American football, or do you want to go and play at Site 5 on a grass field where you have to walk about 40 minutes from the changing room to the pitch? Yes, I'm trying to anger and hate rage someone here, but it's horrible. Go to SGS. If you have to take the loss, go to SGS instead of
Brunel. Get in the chat and tell him what's what. Yeah, nonsense. What a luxury it would be to try.
Here he is. There you go. I've woken the bear. I've woken the bear.
I won't hear Site 5 slander, says SJ. So yeah, absolutely. But he's definitely here to. Absolutely. But nonetheless, we don't have anything locked in there at the moment because, excuse me, Brunel and SGS have obviously got that last week head to head, which will decide who finishes top and who finishes second, assuming this week plays out the way we think it might play out. Should we have a little look at Tier 1? Tier 1 North to start off with. The make-believe team of Aberdeen Bulls didn't play again, so Harriet Watt get a away walk over there. And then Isaac, do you want to start us off by looking through the rest of the slate? Because again, I'm not surprised by a lot of it. There's probably a talking point around the bottom fixture, but don't want to take your words out your mouth.
First of all, Harriet Watt's only won 2 games so far this season, both come against Aberdeen, who haven't played. That's kind of says it all, doesn't it, really, for the Wolverines this year, who I thought would do a lot better and push on from the decent season they had last year. Shout out to Glasgow for their evil people who win all the time whenever they're playing against people.
The good people and the bad people.
Great. That's incredible. Makes me laugh. But no, it is that Leicester Hallam game. Hallam, you'd expect them to score a lot more on Leicester. You've seen what they did to Sheffield earlier in the season. You'd expect them to put up the same kind of numbers against the Leicester side that when I watched him, I wasn't overly impressed. There was, the linebacker who I was quite impressed with, but apart from that, they didn't really offer much on the field, apart from one player. So I don't know whether that's Hallam being beat up from last week against the Green, or is it kind of worrying for them that if when they do make the playoffs and they face against some good sides, that they are going to start to struggle because there's just something that's not there anymore that were there at the start of the season when, they could easily put 50+ points on a team at will if they wanted to.
Yeah, Leicester haven't been blown out all season though, have they? And that might be a sign of the fact that there might not be amazingly potent offenses in this division, and it's actually a run heavy division, might keep it close just based on their play, etc. I don't know, but the only team that have been blown out, as far as I can tell, in this division so far is either Derby versus Nottingham Green or Sheffield versus Sheffield Hallam. And Leicester have kind of always been at about 2 to 3 scores away, although that's still a good enough dominance fixture result.
Yeah, and the reverse victory this though, Hallam put 35 points on them. So from going from scoring 5 touchdowns to 2 in the space of, when was that? That was in November. So in the space of a couple of months, it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of worrying because around that time they were still scoring, 35 points on Leicester, 50 points on Sheffield. That close loss to Nottingham Green. Then all of a sudden this year they come out and they get a win over Derby that was in December. Sorry, they come out and they lose straight away to Nottingham Green without scoring any points, and then only put 2 touchdowns up against Leicester. It's a win. It helps them in their seedings and in their postseason dreams. But definitely, it's a worrying sign for Hallam, in my opinion.
From the outside looking in, for sure, especially considering that Leicester are now confirmed relegated. Certainly based on my maths anyway. And the other 2 relegation spots are either down to Derby, Liverpool, and Edge Hill. Assuming that Liverpool don't go on a 2 victory run at this point. Even then, they wouldn't be able to overtake the MMU Eagles because MMU beat them 32-3 this week as well. And Lancashire still unbelievably not conceded a whole point this whole entire season so far. And again, we haven't been able to crown them championship just because of the way their schedule falls, and Man Met have been able to keep up with them all. Manchester Tyrants have been able to keep up with them all season, and so it'll boil down to the fixture that we're probably going to talk about in a second as well, in terms of who will decide that division. But still incredibly impressive. And now we're left going, well, is that because they're really good and they're actually going to be world beaters? Tell us if we're right on that, or is it that they're in a weaker division and actually Edinburgh, Napier, and Nottingham Green and Bournemouth and the likes are coming out of tougher divisions? But I'm almost certain Sam Bloomfield and George Foster and all those that are involved in that program will be demanding 0 on that last game of the season against Manchester, which will kind of tell us exactly what they're going to be. Well, it'll sew up 1 seed for them as well, won't it, going into the playoffs for them. Should we head south?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah, go on then, Stuart. You have first dibs here because, again, we didn't have a fixture, unfortunately. UEA did not travel to Oxford Brookes, so UEA get that -2, and that forfeit, I think, based on my maths, working out and trying to kind of decide the rule, interpret the rule book, that relegates them. And I think it's because even if they win their last game, they will automatically lose the head-to-head because they have a forfeit attached to them. Now, I know there's an appeal process and etc. This could all change, but that's based on the information that I've got to hand at this point, which is sad. Obviously, Stuart, over to you.
Yeah, I was going to pretty much say word for word what you said. So we'd noticed that on BUCS Play that it had knocked them down to 0 points. So they got 2 for a win earlier in the season. They're now on 0. They'd got -2 for the forfeit. So we don't know why they didn't travel. We don't know whether they can appeal, whether they can sort of put anything out to say, well, actually, it wasn't our fault. Our bus didn't turn up or something like that. And they get non-walkover deduction. I can't remember what the wording is. Involuntary walkover. That's it. Yeah, involuntary walkover. And they would get the 2 points back. But yeah, at the moment, with the information we have, they're relegated. We didn't quite get the upset at Bath. They were leading at one point, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, we're going to have it!" And then Bristol just came back in the second half, and
We
did
were
Bristol
not
things.
cheering on Bath. Don't come at us.
So Bristol just came back and did Bristol things. So they are champions of the Southwest when it's not raining. Hertfordshire took care of the Lancers. Hertfordshire put themselves really in pole position for that division. The only thing that could potentially help OBU is the average points against, if it comes into consideration anywhere, but I don't think it will. I think that'll finish as Hertfordshire 1, OBU 2. And then we end up with the close games ceremoniously in the southeast, don't we? With KCL just about beating Brighton and Kent just about beating Kingston. And those two winning teams qualified for the playoffs. They're just both on 11 points, so we're not quite sure what's going to happen with those two. And then Brighton look like they might get the third spot, and then it's probably going to be depends what Bath do in the last couple of games as to whether they can squeak the head-to-head in that 7 to 9 seeding. Got the last couple of games to play out, haven't we? All interesting last 2 or 3 weeks in each of those divisions.
KCL, they're alongside Bournemouth, are the remaining undefeated team in the south. Obviously, Bournemouth are kind of like waiting in the weeds because of that -7, which is just weird, isn't it, to kind of wrap your head around? But no, KCL and Kent are running away with that division now, aren't they? And I'm sure that is there a showdown coming up between them?
There is.
Yeah.
Because I actually spoke about it, so I had to go and re-record it this week.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, so that's obviously going to happen in the
last game of the season on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, 100%.
What a romantic matchup.
What a romantic matchup. A bloodbath, I'm sure. So yeah, no, really interesting. And so what we've been able to do is obviously crown Bristol as champs as well, with that result that went their way, because they cannot no longer be caught by either of them. So congratulations to them. Let's have a look at tier 2. We had plenty going on, but we also had plenty that didn't happen either. Who knows what's going to happen up in the northeast? It's an absolute mess. Remains a mess. I don't know if I want to give it any airtime, but York and the YSJ didn't happen, which is the least shock of the season. But yeah, that hasn't happened yet, but it also hasn't been given as a walkover as we understand yet either. But we did have, unfortunately, a field markings issue at Lancaster. I've been told that the refs tried everything in their power to try and get the game underway, but in the end that had to be demoted to a scrimmage, and Lancaster, according to BUCS Play, have been given a voluntary walkover, so LJMU get that win there, unfortunately. Very much so for Lancaster and their playoff hopes. And then the same happened in Swansea, Aberystwyth, which we already talked about. And yeah, very, very interesting to see the effects that those two have, which we'll get into. Isaac, what results would you like to talk about?
DMU with back-to-back wins is something I think has been unheard of in the last few years in BUCS football. You know, the win against AIU, hurt a bit, I won't lie. But then this week, this weekend has gone beating Lincoln 14-12, and then they've got to play them again this week coming up. I think this De Montfort side is one that people have got to be wary about. Not many people speak about these ever, and all of a sudden, they're fourth. The win this week, they'll jump above of AIU and look at the playoffs with, it's quite a nice proposition for them. It's definitely interesting for DMU for something that we've never seen before. But yeah, and then also the Sunderland Spartans. I think they just, they do a good job on Instagram stories where you can watch a game along with them, and it looked like they was dominating Hull. It looked like they were running the ball better, and Hull unfortunately just couldn't stop them. So yeah, and then again we get a reverse victory this week as well, which is even crazier. But yeah, definitely Sunderland look like the class of that northeast.
Their biggest threat is forfeits, right? It's teams not turning up, which they've had it, or not being able to play because of weather or whatever.
They only need to win the division to go up. It's not like it's not like Tier 1 or the Prem North and South.
When they have got on the pitch, they've won, apart from one. Yeah, you're right.
And if and realistically, I think they'll take the forfeits. Don't have to play rest up for the playoffs if you're there, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean, you're promoted. So anything else other than that is a bonus, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And Stuart, do you want to take us a bit south? What sticks out to you there? Because there wasn't much going on, obviously, but
nope.
Bath Spa didn't get that back-to-back that you asked for.
They didn't. No, I was going to start with Sussex because I wasn't going to go with the massive homer pick. So Sussex beat Solent, so they pull themselves closer to the top of the Southern and sort of put themselves just above Royal Holloway in that third spot for potential playoffs. But yeah, as you say, Bath Spa succumbed to the Worcester Royals on that slanty sideways pitch. And yeah, it was good to see the Royals kind of get another win on the board and kind of provide Tebbs with an unsuccessful hate watch, as he called it, because he I don't know if anybody saw his very unbiased.
Saw some memes as well.
I don't know if anybody saw his very unbiased match report, and he was still holding a grudge against his last person standing ejection in week 1, picking the Worcester Royals. So yes, it was nice to have a Worcester win over a Gloucester lad.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, totally. And what we have, and these results didn't really change much in terms of who qualified, who champions or anything like that. There's still lots to happen in tier 2. And there's an interesting question there on Instagram by Georgie Porgy, who's regularly in the chat, and he asks, who are your top 5 tier 2 teams? Which is really interesting, and I will immediately put it out there that I had considered putting Imperial 25 on my top 25 just because they're unbeaten, and then the bottom of the 25 now is a bunch of 3-3, 3-2-1 teams from tier 1. So I had considered it. So my vote would be that Imperial would be top of the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Who else are we going to put in that mix for top 5 of tier 2? Sunderland, fair. Swansea,
LJMU,
maybe.
Spot the northern bias. Reading are 3-0. They're going really, really strong.
UE2 we haven't seen for a while.
I was saying this. I think UE2 we haven't seen them since the 16th of November.
Yeah, but you can only win. You can only beat the teams if they're playing you. UE2. Sorry,
I'm on a. Can I beat what's in front of you?
Yeah, you won't this weekend. You won't this weekend. Oh, savage. I'm on a completely different tab now, so I think. Yeah, great, thanks. UE play Swansea this weekend. No,
yes, they do.
Yeah, they do.
So that will probably help me decide whether it's UE or Swansea for that division. But yeah, taking my northern bias hat off, Imperial and Reading would probably be my top 1 and maybe 2 or 3. And then insert Surrey, insert Sunderland, maybe, if I'm putting a bit of northern back into that. Yeah,
the issue that Surrey have is that they haven't played Reading. They've beaten Sussex, and they beat Sussex by 8, so absolutely tippy cap off there. But they've also beaten Chichester and Solent, who are 0-7 between the pair of them. So yeah, there's just a little bit of hesitancy there with Surrey. So what are we saying then? We're saying Imperial, Sunderland, Reading, and then take your pick between Swansea, UE2.
The rest of the unbeaten teams.
In the scrimmage, did LJMU beat Lancaster, or do we not know the result of the
scrimmage?
I know
that.
I think they message us that.
They did message us and tell us the
end. I think if that was a game, like an actual game that could go ahead, I think LJMU would still be 2-0 no matter what, and would have put Lancaster to the sword. But yeah,
Georgie's just put QMBL with the prayer emoji and a sad face. That's maybe a little bit of bias. We've got them at 3-1, whereas all the teams we're talking about are unbeaten. Quimble would probably come in and the best of the rest for me. Maybe sort of 5 to 10 if we were doing power rankings or writers polls or stuff like that. So Quimble are in there. Love their graphics, love their stats, love what they're doing on social media.
Go and beat Imperial.
Yeah, do it.
In that 4 to 6 bracket, they are the 6th seed because the other two are all unbeaten as well. So realistically, even in the South, they are the 6th best side. So it's hard to put them in the top 5 when they're not even in the top 5 of the South.
You might do, Georgie. You might.
I will put you 25 if you go out and beat Imperial. There we go. I'll go and do that. And then I'll let everybody, whoever reads my ballot, go, huh?
Yeah.
It can't have been more confusing than when I put AIU for like 6 weeks straight until they decided not to play football properly.
Yeah,
implosion.
100%. Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a quick look at the standings then before we go on to this week's results. Stuart, have a look at the chat for me that I've asked you to look at, just in case you haven't seen it.
Okay, yeah.
About the graphics. Thank you very much.
Oh, remove.
So having a little look at the Premiership, we are now obviously able to continue. We've already said the Gold, Bullets and Saints have already made it through because of the results of the other two. We're now waiting to see if Loughborough and Leeds Beckett make it, who makes it out of those two. What else stands out to you guys? Cardiff, they gained their qualification this week, as did Northumbria. Probably what we expected, right?
Mm-hmm. I respect Cardiff. I think Cardiff should have been relegated twice and have somehow still stayed in a division, and this year they've gone to the playoffs. So that's kind of remarkable for them, isn't it really?
Isn't it? Yeah, 100%. And Northumbria as well, and that's on the back of the Leeds result, so the Leeds loss, and not having enough there really to keep them at bay. Yeah, to drop them. So yeah. Now we've got to decide who's going to be the champs of the other two divisions. Gold are at the top there based on head-to-head with Bullets. I'm sure that will swap and change over the next few weeks until they play each other. And then Brunel have just got to tie up that loose end, which is the head-to-head against SCS, which has been nicely placed in the final week of the season.
They've done this. BUCS have done this for most of the. I was looking at this here, when I was recording the BUCS week and kickoff. I think next week or the final week for most teams. There's some absolute corkers of fixtures. So I don't know if BUCS have got some insider knowledge of what teams are going to be at the top, but definitely, it's scripted. It's like the NFL. It's all scripted.
You know what? I do it with. Slight side note: I do it with the adult contact as well. I do the same. I look to see who Joe Walker has put in the final week, because then it'll give me an insight as to who he thinks is probably going to be the top of the division. Because you can always see those bookends of maybe title deciders or relegation battlers or whatever as well. But we can't talk about that yet. Let's have a look at Tier 1 North. Napier Knights champs, Stirling with that Stirling win over Glasgow. They managed to get themselves a spot in the playoffs as well. Langston and Tyrants, and the good guys won, and then Green obviously champs there, and Leicester down. So just in case anybody listening or watching wasn't aware, obviously there's no relegation out of Scotland because there's no Scottish division in Tier 2. So there are 3 teams relegated from the Tier 1 North, but it is the bottom of the North and the Mids and Yorks, and then it's the next worst out of those 2 divisions. So at the moment, that is either going to be the Raptors or the Derby Braves if it stays as it is. So Raptors have really got to find a point from somewhere, and hope that Derby Braves don't pick up another. Basically, isn't it? Because that tie against Sheffield is huge for Derby to stay up.
Yeah, 100%.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? You were speaking about Tier 2 Scottish. If UWS Pyros came back, we'd literally be one team. We'd literally be one team away from being able to have a Tier 2 and a Tier 1 Scotland. We could have four teams in each.
What?
Yeah, but that'd be 3 because assuming Aberdeen would put a team out, you'd have Herriot, Aberdeen, UWS Pyros. Who would your 4th team be?
Aberdeen who? Aberdeen who?
Well, they might be
The
able to do
Bulls with the
tier
wings,
two.
Andy. The bull with the wings. It goes,
Who?
why does the bull have wings?
Stop
They
it.
don't exist.
Stop it. They might be able to play
Exactly,
at tier two.
Andy. Bulls with wings do not exist. So why is it?
Yeah,
Mythical bull for a mythical team.
absolutely. 100%. And then let's have a little look at the South. So Bristol, obviously champs. Bournemouth are just now one win away from securing playoff football, because mathematically they will be, as well as I'm pretty sure that head-to-head will go in their favour with Bath as well. We've obviously got that head-to-head against Hertfordshire and OBU that needs to be to decide that championship status. The relegation there, UEA, is not official, by the way, but that's what I'm projecting. And then obviously that run away from KCL and Kent, which sets up a lovely final week there. And then we're not sure at the moment what's going to happen with the Southeast in terms of relegation. Kingston have looked feisty at times, so have UCL, haven't they? So there's that battle to play out the rest of the season as well, isn't it? Any other comments?
Do we? Oh no, never mind. I'm going to say something, but yeah, I think that could be sewn up this week. Could that relegation battle, perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
If not, definitely goes into the final week.
Plymouth won't be long sewn up. No. I think they've
got
Bath.
Bath, exactly.
Yeah, so if they lose this weekend, they're done. Yeah,
Bath need to keep up a good run. That's Southern.
Nathan.
Sorry, go on.
No, finish this one off, and then we'll come back to me.
So yeah, that's Southern. When I was speaking to one of the Hertfordshire Hurricanes players for this week's BUCS weekend kickoff, they were saying how great that division is. You've got three sides who are all at it. They expected Oxford to be at it as well after their great season last year, and UEA being a former Prem side. You expected them all to have a bit of a fight, but definitely the top three there. And with it going to the last week of the season, perhaps where you got Hertfordshire against Oxford Brooks, it's definitely one of the most interesting divisions this year in BUCS, probably in all of British American football, really.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan asked if anyone could stop Brunel. NTU, NTU potentially. They've got a ridiculously strong defense. Can it stop all four of their four-headed prongs? I don't think so. So no, I don't think so. Georgie, C stands for champions, so they're champions of their division. And someone asked, Bristol have 10 points with 5 wins, and Bobcats have 7 points more with wins. Do you mean Bristol?
Yeah,
because that's because
Yeah.
At the start of the season, Bournemouth had a points deduction, and even though they've won more games than what Bristol have, they'll never be able to get the points that having BUCS works on points, not on record like what British the adult season.
Every other American football.
Yeah. I like the spikiness.
It's like a soccer table. You get 2 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss, and they go off that rather than that win percentage. They got deducted for an admin issue last year.
Yeah,
that's it.
Simple. Admin issue.
Self-declared. They held their hands up to it. But yeah, obviously needed punishing and lost 7 points before the season started.
Yeah, but if they finish second, they'll still finish in that 4th to 6th seed, and at the moment, they'll be 6th because of that points deduction, which will go against them badly. Which at the moment would mean that they would travel to Bristol again. So let's keep winning, guys, so we don't have rematches. That's what I want.
Yeah. I don't think anyone wants to play Bournemouth in that. They should be the number 1 seed realistically. If it was any normal season, they would be the number 1 seed. I don't think anyone in that playoff scenario wants to go and face Bournemouth first. Especially with a couple of weeks rest.
I was looking here, is even if Kent lost and Bournemouth won their last game, that it still wouldn't. It's going to be tight, but the average points against might work against them depending on what Kent concede in their last 2 games as well. So it's interesting to see how this might play out. But at the moment, it's looking like 6th seed is most likely, but they could end up in the 5th, which at this point would mean that they'd be travelling to Oxford Brooks, and what a game that would be. So yeah, absolutely.
Play it forward even more. How tasty would a Green versus Bobcats final be?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Sorry, Edinburgh.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a little look at then. I haven't got the writers' poll up at the moment, but let's have a little look at the fixtures. What we think. Let's talk about the highlights that we want to point out rather than go through, because obviously, as always, Isaac has recorded his preview, which will go out on Friday to kick off the weekend. So you can check that out on your podcast and YouTube when that comes on Friday afternoon. So let's go through the what we're most looking forward to across the Premiership tier. What do you want to point out in particular, Stuart?
It's going to be that Saturday fixture between Durham and UWE. It's going to be live streamed. BUCS Sports are live streaming it. Somebody's going to find me a kickoff time because it won't at 3:30 comes to mind.
We don't have to pay £6 for the pleasure.
I don't think so. So yeah, that one sticks out for me, and I think that's going to decide the top of the national in terms of who gets 1, 2, and 3 seeds. Not officially. 4:30, thank you. I knew it was past something. I might be out of work by then, winning. Not that work has Wi-Fi because we're in a new store and BT have screwed us over, but I can watch it on BUCS free Wi-Fi. Anyway, this will decide at the top of that division who is going to finish 1, 2, and 3, I think, in terms of the seedings. We get a better picture of, are Durham as strong as we think they are? Can they dethrone the Bullets? Are the Bullets still seething? Are they still fuming? Are they still looking to prove the point that they are the number 1 team in the country? I'm looking forward to seeing that and seeing how that game progresses throughout Saturday afternoon / evening.
I mean, if for those who watched the game before between these two sides, Durham had most of the upper hand in it. It was the weather that affected him with long travel. If I think on a clear day, from what I've seen of Durham and what I've seen of UWE, I think Durham more than have the number and more than have the ability to beat UWE. But yeah, no, I think definitely this is a good thing about the national, that it's not just turn up and play whoever who might be a couple of hours away. It's you're going to have to travel 7 hours to go to Durham and see if you can beat them. But definitely, I think Durham, they showed it against Nottingham Gold how good they are, and I expect more of the same this weekend, really.
Potentially game of the season, as Keith says in the chat, but also the joyous thing about the way the National Prem set up is that we get to see it a third time, probably. If we don't see it in the semis, we'll probably see it in the final. So, really looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Also want to see what happens in the north. Probably a bit of a bias there, obviously. Keen to know whether Leeds can hold on. Can they travel to Northumbria and upset them? If they do, that would be great for them. But you feel as if the writing's on the wall at the moment. And then Newcastle are going to travel to Warwick. Warwick are trying to solidify that second seed, with Northumbria obviously having their home game this week as well. So keen to see what happens in that division. And then we've got SGS and Exeter and Portsmouth. So there's obviously Exeter and Portsmouth, Stuart, is really important for that relegation battle, isn't it, in that division?
Yep. Can Portsmouth do what they did earlier on in the season and take the victory? I'm just quickly scrambling back 26. To see if I can find. There you go. I knew it was close. I think they will. And it's not sort of a huge jaunt from Portsmouth across the south coast down to Exeter. So you wouldn't think travel's going to be an issue for them. It's not like Exeter are going to have huge home field advantage. So, yeah, they're fairly well supported at home.
They've looked okay, haven't they, in recent weeks? They haven't looked like dwellers.
No, they're fairly well supported at home as well. So I think if they get in the cage and make a bit of noise, and maybe they get over the line. But what's that? 14-point differential, 20-6. Did you say 20-6? 14-point difference. That's 2 touchdowns. It's doable. It's doable.
I mean, if you look at the last 2 times on the road for Portsmouth, they scored 12 against Cardiff in a loss and didn't score against SGS. In the last game against the Exeter had at home, they scored 22 points on a Brunel side that have been world beaters so far this season. So definitely, I think Exeter could be up to the challenge, and it's kind of their like last hope in it of survival, because if then it all goes to next week when they play Cardiff. But definitely it's it's all to play for, and I think Cardiff could perhaps shock a few people in this result.
Be interesting to see how that goes for sure. Like I say, always check out Isaac's weekend kickoff, because he'll give you a bit more detail there. Tier 1, the North in particular, rather than going through them all, anything you want to pick out in particular? I'll go first this time. Raptors, Vikings, that's a big one. Liverpool have to win if they want to even stand a chance of staying up, but they are going to have to look to the Midlands for a bit of help as well. So, and obviously if Edge Hill want to stay up, they need to win this as well. And what's their head-to-head that they have to get over? Scrambling. Liverpool, Edge Hill, Liverpool, 12 points. So they'll have to win with two touchdown win over Liverpool as well. And, talk about home field advantage. Edge Hill at one point played in the same place than they as Liverpool Raptors. Isaac, what do you want to point out?
Should be first. We also said Aberdeen Bulls, but but yeah.
They might wing it. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. They might show up. They might go. Glasgow, you might need to come up towards.
Anyway, you're actually going to pick. You're actually going to pick the bottom fixture. Go on.
No, Leicester Derby. I'm going to pick the Steel City Derby.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to be an interesting one, but I think that the Leicester Derby game, it holds more weight for the rest of the landscape of Tier 1, doesn't it, really? Last time out, it was a 25-14 win to Derby. So Leicester, they're already relegated. Season's over. Did they go, to the host Derby and be like, you know what? Not been a great season, but let's show that we're not. Let's show, Tier 2 that next season we're going to take it more seriously. We're going to fight to get our place back here. But yeah, definitely, I think it's it's a big game, especially for Liverpool. I think Liverpool, perhaps are going to be more bothered about this game in the Midlands than their own. After seeing what Edge Hill have provided so far this season, you look more towards Derby, because if they win this, to get put on 5 points, and I think that's Derby have still got one game left, and so do Liverpool after this game. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to see what happens, especially when Liverpool play Manchester in 2 weeks' time.
Well, just scrambling then to see times. So the Liverpool Edge Hill game, according to BUCS, is on a Saturday.
I can double check.
So it says 2:00 on Saturday. So Leicester and Derby will go into it knowing what they've got to do as well. So again, if anybody's listening from Liverpool or Edge Hill, confirm in the chat. But it is down on BUCS for 2:00 on Saturday.
They posted out on Monday. They posted out on Monday on social, Saturday, February 7th at 2:00.
There you go. So Derby will have the upper hand because they will know what they've got to do as well. But like you say, Leicester could potentially relegate Derby if Liverpool pull out that win on Saturday.
Yeah.
So a very interesting weekend for Tier 1 North for sure.
Good spot.
Stuart,
I didn't notice that was
South.
Good. I didn't notice that. I think that's changed fairly recently to Saturday, because I don't think that was Saturday when I was doing the graphics. So apologies that is wrong on the graphics. In the South, Oxford Derby, the second set of the Cavalier Cup. Quite a big fixture between the two of them. There's not so much riding on it, I don't think, in terms of expectations. But they'll want to keep that trophy or take that trophy, depending on what's ended up with that. Speaking of derbies, Bournemouth Southampton, which I've also just noticed on BUCS, kicks off at 6 p.m. with
Nice.
Super Bowl that night. With Super Bowl that night as well. That's a bold move. So that'll be fun. Bournemouth will probably take the win in that one, and seal themselves as playoff insiders. And then Southeast, we always seem. Go on.
Sorry, go on. No, it's all right. I keep interrupting you. I thought you were going to stop. Sorry.
I was going to say I'd never stop talking, me. Again, we never seem to talk about the Southeast. So Kings, can sew it up, I think, this weekend. No, because they go to the head-to-head the following week, don't they? So Kings can take a really big step forward in terms of getting that number 1 seed in the Southeast with a victory this weekend. Brighton still knocking on the door. They'll really want to get that win over Kingston, and sort of, I think they will cement the 3rd spot in that division with a win. They will, won't they? So yeah, both games with one team having a lot riding on it, and the other team just wanting to prevent the other team from having the bragging rights.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah,
I'll shut up now. Over to you.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, we'll see a lot decided in the Southwest this weekend, won't we? That's a big weekend for the Southwest for sure. I scrambled to get Tier 2 up. Here's Tier 2, the whole of Tier 2. Let's not go through it all. Stuart, I'll give you first dibs on this one. What stands out to you as a big game or two?
Southwest, Swansea Bullets. We spoke about it earlier. That for me will be really, really interesting. Both teams really wanting to sort of get out of that division. And I think sort of winner almost takes it all, don't they? Be interesting to see what the Bullets can do, having had about 2 months off.
Two months off and then some.
Yeah,
isn't it? Because it was the,
when did you say,
Isaac said it, 16th of November.
3 months, Jesus! Wow.
Yeah, let's hope it's not too rusty.
Good luck, Sam and Co.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably the biggest, isn't it? But there's also a big one in the southern there, Reading and Surrey. That'll have a big say on who finishes top in that division as well. Isaac, any of these stand out to you as well?
Sunderland Hull. If Sunderland win that, I think that'll wraps up that division. Also, they need officials. So if you are a level 1 coach or an official in the Humber side / East Yorkshire region and get over to Hull on Sunday, drop them a DM and see if you can help them out so they can play some football. But yeah, no, I think if Sunderland win that game, I think it pretty much shows up there that they are promoted and going into Tier 1.
Yeah, because they'll have the head-to-head as well. Yeah, they'll have the head-to-head as well because they'll have beaten Hull twice at that point. So Hull need to win.
Why not over York? Because they've got a draw against York. So
you're right. But York have drawn twice, so they wouldn't be able to catch them anyway. But then Hull have got to win, but Hull have got to win by 2 touchdowns or more to get that head-to-head against Sunderland. But Sunderland seem the class of that division at the moment, don't they?
It'd be nice to see if YSJ can get a turnout as well, and see if they can get a game on and see if they can, not concede 44 points and see what they have the potential to do with their new head coach and new schemes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
And game balls.
But the last thing that Northeast Tier 2 division needs is a ref problem, isn't it? As well,
I think it's a Tier 2 thing. I think that they were told at the start of the season by BUCS that they will have to officiate their own games, and unfortunately, if you're like Hull, where you use a lot of the adult coaches as your own coaches as well, it kind of doesn't free up a lot of people in the area when you're one of the only teams, and some of the only teams, go to like Lincoln or other places that are nearby.
Yeah. 100%. We have run a little bit long, but let's briefly go over the writers' poll to keep everybody up to date, and we'll finish on that. So, top 5 as always, we've seen a switch between Nottingham Gold and Durham Saints, where Nottingham Gold are 2 and Durham Saints are 3, which is very, very interesting. Not reflected on mine at all, but we see Brunel and NTU finish off the top 5 there. Obviously, UE remain at 1. Any surprises to you guys? Durham swap.
They should be above a side that they're beaten and beaten quite well.
I couldn't agree more. We will obviously see some changes this weekend because you would presume that one of those top 3 teams will have a loss in the column. Could be a tie, I suppose, but you never know. Let's have a little look at the rest of the top 10. SGS at 6, Loughborough at 7. We then have Cardiff and Warwick swap 8 and 9, and then 10 rounded up by Northumbria. So obviously Premiership heavy in the top 10 kind of makes sense, but not really much movement there. And then the 11 to 15 is Lancs up 2 to 11. Napier hold at 12. Bobcats in at 13 up 2. Newcastle are the victims of those swaps. They dropped down to 15 by 4 points, probably because they've lost a couple of games. And Nottingham Green hold to 14. Georgie, the people who vote on it are First Down Mag, Def Chart Sports, and us. So there's a number of us who get our votes in on that every week. Any surprises here?
I mean, I'm surprised that Newcastle's still in the top 15, if I'm honest. But not a big surprise. Losing heavily to Trent the way they did, and also losing a close game against Northumbria that you'd expect them to potentially win that one. I think that's the only real surprise for me, that we haven't got another tier 1 side, up there. One of the southern tier 1 sides, especially, like the Hurricanes, for example.
Yeah, I think potentially it's the what Newcastle result am I thinking of that kind of threw me with it?
They beat Warwick.
They beat Warwick, didn't they?
1918, really close. Yeah.
So it's that always plays on my mind when I'm trying to put Newcastle where I put them, is because if I'm rating Warwick as a top 10 team and they beat them, how far can they hang on to that?
Yeah.
That's kind of what plays with me. But
that's from a 1 point loss rather than a side that has lost all but 2 games.
Yeah.
One game by 1 point, and then the other one was against Leeds, who everyone's beaten. So that's kind of where I am with them, especially.
Yeah. 100%. And then to round out the top 25, and just reminder that this is the graphic before last weekend's results, so it's a bit odd kind of talking about it now, but it comes out just before the weekend's results, so after our pod. We've obviously got Leeds Beckett have jumped up 4 points there, for positions at 17, Portsmouth at 16, Exeter 18, Leeds at 19, Hearts down 3 to 20, OBU down 1 to 21, Stirling jumping at 24, and then we've got Manchester, Kent, and KCL who are in that bottom that 22 to 25 range. And that's where I had the biggest struggle, was who's going to be in that 22 to 25 range, because you've now got a bunch of 3-3 teams that are in and around there. I think I might have had Brighton in there at one point as well. Any surprises here? Probably Leeds Beckett jumping up 4 points. 4 places? What have they done to?
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'm not quite sure about.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about why Leeds Beckett jumped up 4. They didn't play. They didn't lose. They lost. Oh no, because that was the game after. That was the game after this, wasn't it? So they hadn't played, and it's just like, well, who's moved them up and why? Because have demons haven't fallen, Griffins haven't fallen, Hurricanes drop, Oxford drop, but Hurricanes potentially beat Beckett, OBU potentially beat Beckett. I don't know.
It's a point system, though, isn't it? So that there might have been just some votes missing, dare I mention.
Maybe.
That might have skewed the average a little bit.
I don't understand how Leeds and Exeter are still on there at all, if I'm honest. I don't think we
talked about this, didn't we? Where we said if you've got an OFA, you
can't be on there anymore. You're clearly not one of the best 25, and especially with how good Tier 1 is, there are sides better than Leeds and Exeter and Portsmouth. There are.
Hertfordshire have just joined the chat, so we're just saying Hertfordshire that we think you should be higher.
Yes.
So anyway,
100%. They should easily be above the likes of Leeds and Exeter for sure, because you slot them into the Prem North and South, and arguably they do a better job than what Exeter are doing.
100%. Yeah, very good. So before we get out of here, Stuart, any victims in the last man standing?
No, all of them pretty much went with dead cert picks this week. 2 for Green, 1 for Renegades, 1 for Rams, and 1 for Saints. So yeah, pretty much dead cert picks. I think this week we might have some close encounters. I still need to edit. I still need to.
Why did I pick 10?
Could have been worse. You could have picked the Worcester Royals in week 1. Yeah, so I need to. I hope he knows I'm joking. I've met the guy once. I've spoken to him a lot. I hope he knows I'm joking. He knows a lot more than I do about University American football, and he gets to a lot more games. Fair play to him. But when Worcester are involved,
you want to pick the Worcester Royals?
I can't help it. I can't help it.
Hey,
I would always.
I've hardly been around
be,
Uniball, and I wouldn't pick the Worcester Royals.
I would always rather be a sauce than a cheese. Put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah, so I might get the form out on Thursday ahead of Friday and Saturday's games, especially now we've got another game on Saturday. So there's 3 games that I would love to include. So I might get the form out Thursday and close it at about 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon. But yeah, if you're following us on socials, you get notified through the story. So submit your votes, get them in, and we'll bank them.
Yeah, all in aid for this £50 EP Sports voucher, which will go nicely towards half a cleat. So yeah,
or a gum shield or 2.
Or a gum shield or 2. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So yeah, fantastic. Bit long, but we obviously touched on quite a bit of news there at the beginning as well. Like I say, we will sort out getting back together to really break down the alignments, and maybe we'll tag that in with fixtures as well, if and when we get them. Hopefully, sometime in the next week or so, we will chase when we can start talking about them as well. Don't want to talk about anything that's unofficial because we would just be null and void before we've aired. So yeah, we will be back. We'll get together for that. But otherwise, we'll be back again next week. I won't be here. I am in Kent with work, so I'll be in the middle of Kent for my sorrows, if you like. But we'll figure out what we'll do next week, and we'll let you know. Thanks, Stuart and Isaac, as always, for giving your insights there. And thanks for those who have joined us in the chat, listened and watched. And thank you again. We will catch you again next week. Take care.